a beehive after the baseball bat, a broken Ferris wheel. At 8, I was diagnosed a disaster, an incurable catastrophe, an unrepentant shit disturber. I was the kid you did not want in your class. You know, the one who couldn't sit still, couldn't do the drill, didn't fit the bill, never would, never will, until I got the chill pill. Ritalin. Now we're fitting in, paying attention, listening better than it's been. Let's not pretend it's a solution. It's not. Just the best we got because the system's shot. Having attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is like living inside a violently disobedient clock. Seconds slowing into forever. Then jumping into overdrive. Warp 8, Warp 9, Warp 10. Mr. Scott, I need more. Aye, Captain, but I'm afraid she'll blow. Having ADHD is like being an exclamation mark in a world of commas. It's telling the cop, go f*** yourself, because the dial on my rage diminisher is malfunctioning. It's tuning out my wife who's sitting right in front of me, because the fly on the ceiling is walking backwards, and I forgot to call my mom, who was a terrible cook, but I didn't care. I ate so fast, food barely touched my taste buds. I don't know why they call them buds anyway. It's not like they become flowers, or friends, or beer. I remember the first time I took Ritalin. My mental merry-go-round began to slow down, and everyone suddenly started speaking human. But by then, I found my own ways to cope. I went to 5 different high schools, failed every class except gym, drama, and dope smoking. Math was like studying advanced theoretical Klingon, like bungee jumping off the back of a pickup truck. I still don't speak numbers. My adolescent mind was a paper plane in the palm of a hurricane. And ultimately, the only thing school ever taught me was that I wasn't good enough to make the grade. I know my attention fluctuates, but when love calls my name, I focus like the Hubble. I can see God's fingerprints on every flower petal. I remember the cut, color, and texture of that dress you wore the day we met, the saline sweetness of your sweat, and every switchback curve in your beautiful smile. You say living with me is like having a Swedish death metal band in the basement and a drunk kangaroo in the bedroom. But although I can't sit still for more than 3 minutes, I still see forever in your eyes. And though sometimes I don't pay attention, I know exactly how much this love is worth. The world disdains the distracted mind. They prefer us focused on our flat screens, too terrified to imagine a world without drones, war zones, or corporate prisons. But my mind is full of visions so breathtakingly beautiful. My God, I wish you could see them too. I may never be normal, but what is normal in a world of infinite variety? And in the quiet backwaters of my mind, I know I am not damaged, just different. And isn't being different the one thing we all have in common?
I thought that's what it was. Dude, you're live.
Oh shit.
I told you that.
What's up, fuckers? Welcome to ADHD Radio
The fuck?
/ YouTube thingamajigger. We're coming to you live from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Today is July the 9th, With me, as always, is my co-host, Video Vamp. There he
God
is.
damn it, Kevin! You had one job. One job. That's it. Just one goddamn job.
I've heard the intro so many times that I just tuned it out.
Yes, phones are up 984-664-2723. Now this motherfucker's being crackly. Even though I didn't change a goddamn thing! Ah! What the fuck? All right, Kevin, I need you to take this. We're just going to lock on to Kevin's camera.
I'm right here.
Yep.
Chuckity chuck 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 chuck.
Yep.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, you sound just fine. And
Arby's has turned the trend toward plant-based burgers, quote unquote, on its head with the new Marret, a carrot made out of meat. Vice reported that Arby's has definitively rejected the plant-based meats movement. What Americans really want is great, tasty meat, says Jim Taylor, Arby's chief marketing officer. So we said if others can make meat out of vegetables, why can't we make vegetables out of meat? Oh, God. The Marret is made by rolling raw ground turkey breast into a carrot shape, cooking it sous vide for an hour, and covering it with special carrot marinade, and then oven roasting it for another hour. Bon appetit. Nothing like carrot flavored turkey. This carrot tastes like turkey. This turkey tastes like carrot. Fuck you, Merit. Meat carrots. Tommy Martin, 58, of Mount Holly, North Carolina, hopes to see Hardee's in federal court after a humiliating incident at a Belmont store in which Martin was given just 2 hash browns on his breakfast plate rather than the half dozen or so depicted on the company's website. Martin, who is black, told the News and Observer that he felt like he was in a scene from a segregated 1960s when he asked for more. The manager came back and said, "That's what you get." Got home with a tear in mine eye. Oh, God. Martin said in a handwritten lawsuit filed June 24th in U.S. District Court in Charlotte, the cashier was prepared to give him more hash rounds. Martin said, but the manager, who is white, stepped in and gave him a refund instead. Dun, dun, dun. Hash rounds. Whatever the fuck those are. I'm guessing they're round hash browns that are like pressed together and then you fry them. Thank you, Hardee's Carl's Jr., whichever the fuck you are today. A cafe in Bangkok, Thailand, is encouraging customers to experience the death awareness, quote unquote, and reflect more on their lives by inviting patrons to get into a coffin and spend some time with the lid closed after finishing their coffee.
Okay, how does this sound? All right, I'm gonna
keep talking.
I'm gonna take. Oh my fucking God! Fine.
Death Awareness Cafe owner Veer
How about
Rojan
that?
Drappa. Now I can hear some background action. That's better.
Yeah, that should be much better.
That's a lot better.
I got rid of absolutely everything. I just ripped out the entire effects chain.
Check that shit out.
Yeah, motherfuckers. This is how I sound in the real world without any vocal enhancers, compressors, or any bullshit like that.
Okay, let's start that one over again.
Okay, go ahead.
A cafe in Bangkok is encouraging customers to experience the death awareness and reflect more on their lives by inviting patrons to get in a coffin.
Okay.
And spend some time with the lid closed after finishing their coffee. Death Awareness Cafe owner Veernat Rojan Drappa told United Press International that a practice encourages people not to be driven by greed.
Okay.
When the lid of the coffin closes, they will realize that eventually they cannot take anything with them.
Yeah.
And then they tip.
Hopefully they tip.
They tip heavily
Heavily.
in meat carrots.
Yes, in meat carrots. I heard about that.
Meat carrot.
Meat carrot.
Wasn't that fun?
Yeah, nothing says wholesome like meat carrots. Ew. Fucking ew. Can I get a little bit of fucking ew? Ew. Fucking ew.
Apparently the Epstein case is worse than Weinstein. Worse than Cosby.
I'd be inclined to agree because neither one of them had sex with 14-year-olds. Seriously, like, how much has to go wrong in this world before you decide, you know what would be a really good end to this day? Sex with a fucking 14-year-old. That's what I think's going to be just like a fucking home run.
What are you doing here, Jared from Subway?
Oh, no.
I don't, contrary to popular belief, I don't have a foot long. But it is adequate.
Wait. Not Jared again. Like, I'm not sure.
It is adequate.
I'm not sure if I could stand anything about Jared.
Jeffrey Epstein's alleged crimes are worse than the allegations against Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein and those of comedian Bill Cosby.
Okay.
Arguably the worst of the Me Too era, says
Okay.
James Patterson. Patterson wrote a book on Epstein, Filthy Rich, the Billionaire Sex Scandal, the shocking true story of Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay.
Discussed the disgraced financier's accused acts during an interview with the Daily Briefing Tuesday. Epstein was charged this week with sex trafficking and conspiracy during the early 2000s. He pleaded not guilty.
Lovely.
It's horrifying that these girls are allegedly hundreds of girls. Patterson told Dana Perino while discussing the charges against Epstein. The veteran author told Perino that he had told personally that President Trump kicked Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida after learning of the alleged incident with a staff member. Ooh.
Gross.
There were some complaints about Epstein at Mar-a-Lago. I spoke to the head of the spa there. I said, "Did you ever meet Epstein?" She said, "Oh, yes. He was inappropriate with some of the younger women." She said she went to Trump and he threw him out of the club. Ooh.
All right, is that crack motherfucker?
Patterson told Perino that hundreds of people have come up to him and thanked him for writing his book on Epstein. The author also speculated that Epstein would get significant time behind bars, saying that I would be surprised if Epstein didn't spend a fair amount of time in jail.
Do you know who Epstein looks like? He scroll up a little bit. It's down below the lower thirds. You know, he looks a lot like the guy who's on NCIS New Orleans.
Oh, that guy. He's in trouble too, isn't he?
Doesn't he? He
Bit.
really looks like NCIS New Orleans guy. Like, I mean, in fact, the resemblance is unfucking canny. All right, pull up the NCIS New Orleans guy. That is fucking shocking. Good God. He has that same, like, you know, good old boy kind of like down home.
Oh,
look.
Scott Bakula.
Oh my God, does he look like Scott Bakula? That is fucking shocking. See, this is what I lose when I listen to NPR.
There we go. Let's see if we can...
Side by side it. Look at that. Look at that. Tell me that's not fucking shocking.
That's really close.
That's like freaky close. He looks too much like Scott Bakula.
Maybe he told girls that he was Scott Bakula.
It doesn't matter if they're 14. They probably don't watch NCIS.
My parents watch it. My grandparents like that show.
God.
During a meeting in the Oval Office with the Emir of Qatar, the president was asked about his relationship with the 66-year-old Epstein. I know him, just like everybody in Palm Beach knew him.
Yes.
People in Palm Beach knew him. He was a fixture in Palm Beach.
He was a fixer?
Fixture.
Oh, a fixture.
I had a falling out with him a long time ago. I don't think I've spoken to him in 15 years. I was not a fan. I was not a fan of his. That I can tell you. I was not a fan.
Well, But this gets worse because apparently someone on Trump's cabinet was the guy that brokered the first.
We kind of know he was a fan of his, and he did go to a lot of his parties.
Well, no.
But I think that's what they're going to get into in the article here. Maybe not on the Fox News article. Back in 2002, when New York Magazine was profiling Epstein, Trump touted their relationship. "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It's even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, many of them on the younger side." On the younger side?
Yes.
Epstein and Trump were said to have been friends, something the president's legal team has denied. Epstein was also once friends with former President Bill Clinton
Well,
and Britain's Prince Andrew.
Okay, I mean, got to keep it in the family.
Clinton on Monday released a statement acknowledging that he had taken a total of 4 trips to Epstein's private jet, but said he knows nothing about the terrible crimes linked to Epstein.
Surprise, surprise.
Separately, crimes in court showed that Trump may have flown the jet at least once as well.
Can I fly the jet? Can I fly the jet?
Can I put Trump on the side?
Can I make the jet gold? Can I please? Can I fly the jet?
Can I just take a crap on the jet?
Can I take a crap in the jet?
I just want to crap on the jet.
I just love shitting at 5,000 feet. That mile-high turd splunking. Nothing
On
beats
Daily
it.
Briefing, Patterson said nobody knew of Epstein's alleged crimes.
No.
Despite him being a well-known figure, nobody knew. You can't do something like that. If anybody knows, I have friends in town right now. They live on this street. They didn't know.
They were
They live 2
shocked.
houses down. They didn't know.
They were shocked.
They
I tell
They
you.
just saw a whole bus of 17-year-olds just...
No! Yeah, and when you ended up with a whole bunch of urine-soaked 13-year-olds coming out of the R. Kelly den, they were like, "We have no idea what's happening here."
The best-selling author says
No
that he
fucking
believes
clue.
Clinton didn't know and knows Trump didn't know. Yeah, but Trump just fucking said that he knew.
Well, yeah, he's very clever about what he knows and doesn't know.
Epstein was charged this week with sex trafficking and conspiracy during the early 2000s.
Yes.
The victims described herein were as young as 14 years old. At the time, they were abused and were, for various reasons, often particularly vulnerable to exploitation.
Gross.
Epstein intentionally sought out minors, knew that many of his victims were, in fact, under the age of 18. Epstein allegedly created and maintained a vast network. An operation from 2002 up to and including at least 2005 that it enabled him to sexually exploit and abuse dozens of underage girls, in addition to paying victims to recruit other underage girls.
Hey, you know what? It's like the world's greatest triangle scheme, right? Like the world's greatest triangle scheme is when or pyramid scheme is when you get people at the bottom to start dealing with people on the top. And that way your hands are clear of the whole thing, the whole time.
Prosecutors allege Epstein worked and conspired with others, including employees and associates who helped facilitate his conduct by contacting victims and scheduling their sexual encounters.
Oh, yeah.
With him at mansions in New York City and Palm Beach, Florida.
Well, yeah, you gotta have somebody as the go-between.
Victims would be paid hundreds of dollars in cash by either Epstein or one of his associates or employees, according to the prosecutors. Epstein also allegedly incentivized his victims to become recruiters by paying the victim recruiters hundreds of dollars for each girl that they brought to him.
Yes, you need to have a sexretary. That would be a secretary who schedules your sex. A sexretary, yes. It is completely and totally absurd. And apparently the way that this guy did business for how long? Years and years and years. A frightening amount of time.
Ooh, U.S. versus Epstein. This guy's got a big fucking poster board here.
Scott Bakula.
Scott Bakula.
Scott Bakula is fucking bad.
Look at him. He looks just
Look at
like
him.
Scott
Looks
Bakula.
just like Scott Bakula. He is Scott Badula. That's what he is. Scott Bakula.
14-page indictment against Jeffrey Epstein.
Is that a long one? I don't know. As indictments go, I suppose it probably is. Scott Bakula.
The accusations against Mr. Epstein are nauseating. From at least or about 2002 to 2005, the defendant sexually exploited and abused dozens of minor girls, some as many young as 14, and many particularly vulnerable to exploitation.
Right.
The girls were enticed and recruited
Okay.
to engage in sex acts with him, after which he gave the victims hundreds of dollars. To maintain and increase its supply of victims, he paid some of the girls to recruit more into the vast network of underage victims. Duh, duh, duh. It's my middle school network. What the fuck? I get older, they stay the same age, man.
Oh, God, that's so fucking nasty.
If convicted, Mr. Epstein faces up to 45 years in prison.
In the clink.
This seems a reasonable, if belated, punishment for rampant abuse of girls, of which Mr. Epstein stands credibly accused, but Mr. Epstein is not the only one for whom a reckoning is long overdue. The allegations in New York indictment are depressing echo of those that Mr. Epstein faced in Florida more than a decade ago when a perversion first came to light. In 2008, federal prosecutors for the Southern District of Florida, at the time led by Alexander Acosta, who is now the nation's Secretary of Labor,
There it is. I knew it was somebody on the freaking...
helped arrange a plea deal for Mr. Epstein that bent justice beyond its breaking point.
broke dick justice.
In exchange for pleading guilty to 2 state counts of soliciting prostitution from a minor, Mr. Epstein avoided federal indictment that could have put him in prison for life. Instead, he served 13 months in a private wing of the Palm Beach County Jail,
A.K.A. Club Douche.
where liberal work release privileges allowed him to spend 12
6 days
hours
a week.
day
That's
and
right.
6 days a
6
week in
days
his
a week.
private office.
Right.
Mr. Epstein paid restitution to some of his victims and was required to register as a sex offender, a
Restitution.
designation that he later tried to have downgraded in New York to a less restrictive level.
Restitution. That's when, like, I have to pay them
In addition
And
to
I don't get to-
short-circuiting federal charges,
and I don't get to fuck them, right?
a plea agreement killed an FBI investigation that granted immunity to any co-conspirators.
Good.
As detailed last fall in a blockbuster series by Julie J.K. Brown
Julie J.K. Brown.
of the Miami Herald,
She fucking hates Scott Bakula.
Mr. Acosta and his office worked unusually closely with Mr. Epstein's legal team on the deal. Both sides also labored to keep the agreement secret until it was finalized,
Okay.
including from Mr. Epstein's victims.
Why?
This, a federal judge ruled in February, violated the rights of those victims who have pushed for their justice ever since.
Yeah. I mean,
Not long after his release, Mr. Epstein returned to New York and reminded a local reporter that legally he was a sexual offender and not a predator.
is there actually a difference?
He joked, "It's the difference between a murderer and a person who steals a bagel." No.
Okay, I want you to Google the difference between a sex offender and a sexual predator.
I don't know if there's much difference.
Fine,
there.
I'll fucking do it.
At first glance, the Epstein saga looks like another example of how justice is not, in fact, blind, and how it tilts toward the powerful at the expense of the vulnerable. Yep. Mr. Epstein, who has claimed to have made his fortune managing other rich people's money, was not just wealthy, he was politically and socially wired, hobnobbing with such bold-faced names as Prince Andrew, Bill Clinton, and Donald J. Trump.
Okay, here we go. What's the difference between a sex offender and a sex predator? Being convicted of a crime can leave people with a... Oh boy, is this clearly a defense lawyer. Okay, here we go. In Florida, the only place that matters, sexual offenders are people who have been convicted of a sex crime like child pornography, or persuading somebody under the age of 18 to engage in prostitution. A sex predator is convicted of a first-degree felony related to sexual misconduct or convicted of a second-degree felony related to sexual misconduct. This means that if a person engages in violent behavior or commits the most serious type of offense in regards to sexual conduct, he or she should wind up not only being required to register as a sex offender, but also as a predator. Okay, both of them sound pretty fucking bad to me.
Yeah.
A sex predator has been convicted of a first-degree felony.
A sex terminator has been sent back through time.
Right. To stop you from having sex with yourself while you are a minor, because technically that would be rape or masturbation, depending upon how you look at
I'm
it.
the sex terminator. I'm here
That is
to
so
protect you
fucking stupid.
from the predator.
So, God, this is such a lawyer's... Okay. The penalties for being convicted of a serious felony related to sexual misconduct can be devastating for any person. Aw, poor sex felon. However, it may be possible to minimize the impact of a conviction or plea by seeking reduced charges and challenging the details of any allegations. Fuck these people. How do they sleep at night? Gross. Boy, all of the answers are coming from fucking Florida law firms. This is hilarious.
So, Acosta says that he got totally bombarded by his legal team, and he brought the best deal possible under the circumstances.
Okay.
Neither should Mr. Acosta and his former team members be allowed to wave off the tough or awkward questions that are likely to arise from going forward. Under pressure from Congress, the Justice Department has opened a review into the handling of the case, and last Wednesday, a federal appeals court in New York ordered the unsealing of 2,000 pages of related documents.
Okay.
Already distressing new details are resurfacing in the case. Most notably when Mr. Epstein's Manhattan residence was searched over the weekend. According to a court filing from prosecutors, law enforcement officials recovered hundreds and perhaps thousands of sexually suggestive photographs or fully or partially nude females, some of which appear to be underage girls.
Okay, how is that not sexual predator? Like, really?
Could you just take a seat right over here, Mr. Epstein?
Seriously, how is that not being a sexual predator?
In his request that Mr. Epstein be held without bail, the United States Attorney for New York's Southern District, Jeffrey Berman, noted the defendant, a registered sex offender, is not reformed, he's not chastened, he is not repentant. Whatever new details emerge, whatever new participants may be implicated, whatever public officials are found to have failed in protecting Mr. Epstein's victims, the time for secrecy and excuses and sweetheart deals is over. Mr. Epstein's victims have waited long enough for answers, and they deserve justice. That was a very good op. Was written by the editorial board of the New York Times. Yikes.
Andrew Z in the chat room saying, hey, what's going on, guys?